Welcome to Future Sounds Season 2, Episode 9, featuring a long-form interview with Desert Sand Feels Warm at Night, conducted by Thom over at Donor Lens Towers. Desert Sand Feels Warm at Night is performing at Future Sounds 4 irreverent alongside Donor Lens, Zero Ray, hope I'm saying that correctly, and Vanitas' debut actually, over at the Lunar Lounge in London on Saturday the 30th of September. We'll all be down there, so come and say hello, grab some artist merch. Okay, next episode will be a roundtable with most of the team, but we have so many exciting and exclusive guests coming up in future episodes. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss out. And now, on with the show. Desert Sand Feels Warm at Night.
FutureSounds FM.
Yeah. Oh man, I think you're going to replace my wife.
This is FutureSounds FM.
Nice for the American audience.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, let's get started properly. So I'm here with Desert Sand, government name Will. I'm not gonna name more names than that, although it is sort of loud and proud on your Discogs page, isn't it?
It's very easy to find. Any Spotify credits, you can have a little dabble if you want to.
Yeah,
you're not going to find anything.
Yeah, don't do anything weird. Let's not go sort of Facebook stalking and stuff.
Yeah. Which has happened, by the way. Somebody did DM me on Facebook once, going, "Oh, I love your stuff," and I thought, "Wow, that's a bit personal."
That is actually a thing that happens. So I've seen artists kind of specifically request that people don't do that. Like if you're friends with like one or two people in the vapor scene, the Facebook algorithm thinks it's being terribly helpful by like saying, you may know this person.
Yes,
it's obviously clever in some ways, but it's sort of Mark Zuckerberg's got like no respect for the sort of the mystique of anonymous internet music artists. He should really think about this more when he's sort of designing his algorithms. But yeah, you're happy with Will being out there for this?
Yes, of course.
Wicked. So we got Will here with us, chatting about a bunch of things. Sort of 5 years of Desert Sand.
That's right. Yes, this year, September 1st. Was the 5-year anniversary of Desert Sand.
What do you date that from?
It is from the first release, which is the Star.wav album, which came out on the Hallworth Collective, which was a label where I just have a bit of fun with my friends, releasing kind of side project stuff.
Yeah, and under a bunch of different names, all of which was you two, right?
Yeah. It was me and a friend called Thom.
Good name.
And without the H, Thom.
I used to be a Thom without an H, and then I put it back in. I think I listened to too much Radiohead or something.
And it just obviously at the time it was just a bit of fun. That's why kind of the early stuff is not that high quality, I would say. But as time went on, I really enjoyed doing stuff at Desert Sand, and then I pursued that kind of as my main musical career. And 5 years later, look where we are now. I mean,
it's crazy that
in your studio,
5 years is it's kind of an eternity, but it's gone very quickly as well. We've had a bunch of guests celebrating 5 years recently. So I think my pet Flamingo are 5 years old.
Oh wow! Congratulations!
We had and Pure Life Records as well, who we had on. They were also celebrating a 5-year anniversary, and Jay and I have been talking about with Donor Lens. I think next year is our 5-year, and we're thinking about nice things to do. For that.
Wow! Okay, well, look at that.
Watch this space. So happy fifth birthday!
Thank you very much. Yes.
Welcome to year 1 of primary school.
Yes, that's right. I'm in reception now. Here we go.
Very cool. No, I think you've just started year 1. It's September, new academic year.
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
God.
Your sort of Hogwarts letter will be coming in the post in a year or two time.
Yes.
Very cool. So we're chatting 5 years of Desert Sand. We've got a very exciting upcoming live show in London on September the 30th. So this episode should be uploaded just in time for that. And if it isn't, sorry. But it will do. But show in London with some of our good friends and influences, and it should be a really good time. And ridiculously, I think this is your UK debut.
It is, yes. Funny how I've played in New York twice before this.
Yeah,
but this
and
is
5 years of studio projects.
5 years of studio projects. But here we are, yes, the UK debut. We've got Zero, Vanitas, and Donor Lens, of course.
Yeah.
And then DJ sets by Enzo and Patrick. So
oh god, you know the full lineup.
Yes, I know my vid. Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
And another Will on the visuals.
And another Will on the visuals. Yes.
Yeah, shout out that Will as well. So he does amazing stuff at all our FutureSounds shows, using CRT screens and just like beautiful analog visuals and stuff. It makes a massive difference having these towers of old school TVs. It just adds up to vibes.
Yes, it is good. So yes, September 30th. It's in the Lunar Lounge.
Yeah.
In
Leytonstone.
In Leytonstone, E11, I think, because there is another Lunar Lounge. Because I remember
don't go there.
that up. So don't go there. Make sure it's the E11 one.
Yeah.
In Leytonstone, and I hope to see so many of you there. If you're in the area, if you want a trip to the UK.
Buy tickets in advance because it's a very small venue and there's no guarantee of getting in on the door if you haven't bought it in advance.
It's gonna be a great night, and I'm hoping to bring some merch as well potentially. So with some tapes that I know are hard to find, and I will be selling them for a very decent price. So please, even if that's a reason just to turn up, we'd love to see so many of you there. And I love meeting people in the scene, and I haven't really been able to kind of touch ground with people in the UK.
Yeah.
Because it's
more US networking.
Yeah, that's right. I've done all my US networking and met everyone there, but in my actual home soil, I haven't had anything.
Yeah.
So this is really exciting, and I'm sure there'll be more in the future.
Everything about our scene is backwards, isn't it? Like we've had working relationships with people for years, and then we're going to be meeting them for the first time at things like this show, like Vanitas. We've made music, made artwork with on many occasions, and our first meeting sort of. The best part of 5 years in, it's crazy.
And we were saying as well, like how we're both based in UK, and how have we never like worked together on anything before? Like we should have been like kind of really close in terms of because we're both UK based, but better late than never, I suppose.
It sounds like spoilers.
Maybe. Well, I'm just saying in terms of everything,
Yeah.
This and
don't sand feels warm at night. You heard it first, right?
Well, we're not promising anything, but maybe we are.
Oh, you promised me. Maybe.
I'm trying to keep it mysterious, Neo. Now you said that.
Man, I'm no good at mystery. You're very good at mystery. I mean, on the subject, on the subject of mystery, I know that you really like being asked about the name Desert Sand Feels of Warm at Night. It's your favorite question. How did you get asked that? I'm actually not going to ask that because the answer, as far as I can gather, is that you just thought of it and wrote it down, right?
Yes, I thought of it and I wrote it down. That's it. There's no fancy story of how I was lost in the desert and I was thirsty and then suddenly the sand was really warm and I was enlightened. Blah blah blah. No,
it's not warm anyway. It's cold at night.
Don't even start.
That's the other thing you like. Anyway,
metaphorical.
I kind of did ask that, but I'm not officially going to ask about the origin of the name. But one thing I do notice from your music and from what I've read you say before is that like names are very important to you. Am I right in thinking that you name your tracks and your albums kind of in advance?
Yes, I do. Them? Yes. So,
I'm a big believer in that.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So I think, I kind of say why I do it is because my albums are experiences. They tell stories, and what I love to do is I love to kind of build this experience and kind of have a kind of template, I guess, with the track titles and things before I start making an album. But it kind of means that also I know the outcome based on what I'm trying to get for the story of the album. But also at the same time, it then means that once the album's out there. And the titles are in Japanese, so it's harder to translate, harder to understand, especially for the Western audience. It kind of means that I'm allowing people to kind of create their own stories from my albums in that kind of way. And I love when I hear people's like personal experiences with my albums, how it affected them, how they think like the artwork relates to it, and that kind of thing. And it all stems from just the idea of creating the story beforehand. It's because once you've got that kind of template, you can do anything with it, and then it kind of translates to the audience as well, that they can experience it any way they want it. Yeah. And
it's kind of an active experience on their part because especially when you use different scripts for the track titles and stuff, like you probably have a very clear idea of your artistic intentions, but you're not forcing it on the audience. Like you're kind of encouraging a degree of research, or like you can just like enjoy it as like pure aesthetics and
Yeah.
just like a blank slate to project your own kind of
That's exactly it. Yeah.
experiences onto. I really like that. I think like a lot of sort of historically great music was made by quite auteurish people who are like, this is what I made and this is what it means.
Yes.
But that's quite sort of last century thinking. And as I've learnt today, you weren't alive last century.
No, I was born in 2001, which is a shock to some people because I remember the first time on Twitter that I announced what it was my birthday. I think it's when I turned 19.
Yeah.
And I announced it. I said, "Oh, I'm 19 today," and all the comments were like, "Oh my god, this guy's so young!" And then it happened next year, and it happens every year.
Do you know what I feel? When we met and you told me how old you are now, I was kind of disappointed because I had it in my head that you were still like insanely young. So yeah, sorry to disappoint you. Like you're old now.
We thought I was like 15 or something.
No, well, that sounds a bit dodgy. But you know what I mean. Like I think like when you hit your mid-20s or something, it kind of levels out, doesn't it? Like the difference between mid-20s and 30 or whatever. Like it doesn't feel like so much of a chasm anymore.
No.
But like, the difference from a 19-year-old to a 25-year-old, I'm sure you'll agree based on your kind of progression and your life changes and stuff. Like you're probably in a very different place now.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
literally different place as well. You don't
Yes.
live in Reading anymore.
No. Oh my goodness me, Reading. Yeah. No, but you know, the 5 years of Desert Sand has been such a journey. I mean, you know, there's no other words to it, and you know, there's so much that I'm sure we'll go on to talk about. But you know, so much has changed, and I think that age doesn't matter really in terms of connecting with people in this scene, because you know, like I have some great friends in the scene who are all ages. You know. In their 30s and things, you know, and obviously Mindspring, who I recently collaborated with, Angel, she's in her 30s as well.
Yeah, she's kind of on the cusp of Gen X millennium, right? Like it's like a 3-generation thing, isn't it? Our movement. I'm not sure how many Actually, do you know what? So the only boomer who I can think of in the scene was Rolling Stone magazine asked like one of the guys from the Monkees.
Oh yes,
yeah. They're like, what do you listen to? And he was like, I found this really cool music on the internet called Vaporwave. It's like, whoa, like the most high profile like boomer Vaporwave fan. So most boomer acts are probably, you know, they're probably freaking livid that like people are plundering their yacht rock and their, you know, to make sample music. I mean, I saw actually talking of Angel, I think I've talked about this on air before, but I saw underneath an Infinity Frequencies like YouTube page, there was the original composer of some of the like Weather Channel music being like, what the fuck is this? Because it was obviously like a track that the Infinity Frequencies had just like sampled from original Weather Channel stuff, slowed down, put some reverb on, and this guy was like, you've stolen my music. And like Angel went into bat for Team Vaporwave, like trying to explain to this guy like how like what had happened was like artistically valid and stuff.
Yes.
And this guy was like, I've worked for decades. Like I've done my shift on the, you know, as a yacht, what's it called, like a cruise musician, cruise ship musician. Like, where's my money? Yeah, shout out Angel. Like we've never worked with her directly musically, but she mastered that Donor Lens record, Midnight Store, and that one, the Error Area. She did an amazing job.
Should probably point out that you were pointing to the albums on the wall because people can't see that you were doing that.
That's right. I know you should be able to hear like the kind of binaural features, right? Like you're like waving across the stereo space.
You've got the vinyls like above the sound panels on the wall, which is pretty cool. Oh my goodness, and it's just started absolutely pissing down now. So it's a good time we started this.
Yeah, welcome to the UK.
Welcome to the UK. Yes. But yeah, no, Angel is fantastic, and working with her on this album, The Desert Memories, was so unbelievably fun. It was so cool to see her processes and to receive her pre-slushes and working with that. And you know, we've done like very, very little over the past kind of because we started this collaboration in 2020.
Oh wow.
And then we kind of said, yeah, let's do it, and we just didn't. But it was nobody's fault, but it was just that we were busy with our own things. We didn't really have a specific vision at that point. We were just having a bit of fun. And then this year comes, and Dennis says, listen, I really want to get the ball rolling on this. I want to release this in September.
This is Dennis from Geometric.
Yes, Dennis from Geometric Lullaby. Sorry, yes. And then we were like, let's just do it. We both have time now. This was like a few months ago. We said, let's just get it done.
Cool.
And we did. And we finally got it done. Record. So technically you could say it was 3 years in the working, but that's kind of misleading given how much work we actually did over those 3 years, because it was mostly tiny, tiny little bits. And then most of it was done in the past few months.
That's like the slowest vaporwave record ever, right? You got the record. Right. What's it called? Chinese Democracy, the Guns N' Roses album. Like 3 years in vaporwave years is like 25 years in like normal record industry years.
Yeah. It was funny because when we actually got to a few months ago when we said, right, let's get down to this, we had lost like files and things, and we were like, we have to get these things together, and we got it all in a document, and it was really nice and beautifully laid out then. And once we had that, it was just like, that was the ball that got it rolling, and it was like, oh, here we go, we're getting it done. And then track by track we got it done, and we were thinking of ideas, and then we got Zero to do the artwork. And everything came together, and it was a bit of a rush towards the end, but it worked out fine.
One thing that I'm really interested in with like kind of collabs and splits with electronic artists, and I think people are interested even with like Donor Lens stuff where projects where there's two people, like who does what, who did what in the context of this record? Like, how did it work?
Yeah, so basically it's sample free first of all, so me and Angel both made pre-slushes. So this was full speed. And basically any tracks where you can hear Angel's slush chain on, I made the pre-slush and then she slushed it. And any tracks where you hear my chain on it, this is effects chain, you can hear. So she made the pre-slush and did the singing and everything.
That's a cool way to do it.
So if I pull up the album now, I can tell you which ones are which.
I thought you were going to play some music off your phone. It's going to sound really good on that, like out of your phone into my microphone through the effects chain, and then on sort of 192 kilobit.
That's
podcast right. MP3.
Well, like phones are like have stereo speakers now, so I could position it so that one end was on one and the other was on the other.
Let me need to change the pickup configuration on that mic as well, don't we?
I've just realised I actually don't have a very good signal here, so I might not be able to.
We're in the forest. I'm up on. Do you want to have a?
Brilliant! So opening the book, I did the pre-slush 4 and she slushed it. Same with Divine Manuscript. 8401 was the other way around. So she made the pre-slush and I slushed it. Cognizance was her slushing, me pre-slush.
Did you have like sort of feedback and notes on those, like each other's original compositions? Did you say like, could you change this and that and the other? Or
no, we were very much
off?
Yeah, it was very much just like, just make something and I'll make it work kind of thing.
Okay.
And Angel did struggle a little bit with actually making the pre-slushes because she hadn't really kind of delved into the whole world of J-pop and C-pop, like I had. And she kept thinking that what she was making wasn't like good enough, but it like absolutely was, and it was fantastic, and her vocals were like really great. But she kept thinking that
she's a fantastic musician. As well.
Exactly, and her pre-slushes were beautiful.
I've got a lukewarm take, which is the.
Oh my God.
No, okay, it's really lukewarm because it's actually kind of blowing smoke up your ass. But I think that a lot of people who make the switch from making sample-based music to making sample-free music, a lot of those people who make that transition, their best work was the sampled stuff, because it is very difficult to do sample-free music and make it sound, one, good, and two, even more than it sounding good, is like making it sound like something that could conceivably be an old-fashioned sample source. And I think both you and Angel are very good at doing that.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
I think because it's like you need like a history in making conventional music that's not vaporwave or slushwave to do. You kind of need to put the years in, and I think both you and Angel, like your years started when you were super young, just kind of having a conventional musical education.
Yes.
So that's my lukewarm take.
No, it's a very good take, and the thing is, it's really really cool to see so many people do sample free stuff. And to be honest, even if it is quite amateur or not quite hitting the mark, I say that's great, because what you've actually done is as a person, you've gone out there and said, I want to do the sample free album, and I'm just going to try and do something. And even if just by trying it, you get to learn what sounds right, what works, what doesn't work. And of course, it's a very, very slow journey into getting something that works. Well, Forgive and Forget, which was my first ever sample-free album. Back then I used to call my sample-free albums, I used to call them experiments. If you look in the descriptions of all of my early ones, it said, this is my first experiment, my second experiment, etc. And because at the time I thought this wasn't sounding very good, it could be better, kind of thing. Yeah. But people often say that Forgive and Forget is like their favorite.
That's cool.
And I listen and I go, yeah, but this is so like I could have made these pre-slushes so much nicer, so much mastered them better.
It's not how most people are listening to other people's music, is it? It's how you listen to your own music, with that kind of
right.
detail-oriented approch. But like,
absolutely, yes.
Most people are on a macro kind of thing, aren't they? They listen to the bigger picture.
That's exactly right. And people enjoy my modern sample-free stuff as much as that. Yeah. Anyway, so much so that Forgive and Forget was recently bolded on Rate Your Music. Which was a pretty big deal, actually.
What does that mean?
So I'm not 100% sure on the exact stats it has to be, but basically a bolded album on Rate Your Music means one that's pretty significant. I think it's within a top band of albums. Somebody will know. I have no idea.
Within a specific genre? Or?
No, I think it's just on all things.
Wow.
I mean, basically, what people talk about bolded albums, and they seem to be very revered albums. Wow. And Forgive and Forget was recently bolded, so that was like, holy shit, this is mad. And again, I always look back at the album and think this is the first of many, and it was kind of very, very, well, I wouldn't say poorly made, but there were many things that could have gone better. But I just think that, like you say about the kind of having that music knowledge, I think the way it was written, because I've been classically trained for many years before that, I think the way it's written is like the boost that people enjoy, because the chord progressions are quite nice, I think. I think that's why people like it. Yeah. So even though the production quality was low, the actual composition was pretty okay. And nice. I think that's the difference between like somebody who's had lots of classical training beforehand versus somebody who's like, they may know how to produce very well, but actually when you get down to the chords and the arrangement and the mixing, there's a lot to
I think you can work out that stuff yourself. It's just you have to put in the time.
You do,
whether it's like formally with a teacher or working stuff out yourself. But you can't just like decide all of a sudden, okay, no more samples. I'm going to make like absolutely brilliant music, and it happen straight away.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's it. And people get really excited as well when they find that sample free slush is a thing, and they just want to get into it, and that's totally fine. Absolutely go ahead and do things, because the more stuff you do, the better. But I would say the biggest piece of advice I give to people is don't worry if the output you keep putting out isn't like up to the standard of other people, because like you said, it takes a lot of time to get there.
Yeah. It sounds like you're happy to, like, quote unquote, make your mistakes out in public. I don't think they are necessarily mistakes, but like your artistic progression, you haven't sort of like manicured it or deleted things from the catalog and stuff, as far as I know, right? It's just all out there, right? Yeah, and if you like it, then great.
Yes, there's one album in particular which I shan't name because I don't want people to go looking for it, but people will know what I'm talking about, especially if you're in the Slushwave Discord. Yeah. There's one album of mine which I've removed from my page, and it isn't on the Hallworth Collective either. Okay. And that album is just one that I made so quickly, and it was so bad.
Okay. But that's the exception, not the rule.
That's the exception, yeah. But all my others, if it's not on my main page, it'll be on the Hallworth Collective. Yeah. So that's it, yeah.
There's something on the Hallworth Collective page which is like a rare instance of like your image, your person on a cover, right?
Yes,
rocking the guitar. It looks like a like something you'd find in like a market in Hong Kong, like a record fair or something, like 1983 guitar hits with Will. Will plays the hits.
My early 90s C-pop pre-slush album. That was a fun one. That's just a bunch of like discarded ideas that I just turned into little loops.
That's cool. I think that's how Bandcamp should be used, really. You know, like it's just like you know, it's just and you invite people into your world and stuff. And I think because you're so prolific, like certain records will kind of be boosted to prominence above and beyond others. So we were talking off air about things like Vapor Memory. And even things like the Spotify algorithm as well, which kind of sniff out certain things which have like an amount of traction behind them, and then certain things kind of rise to the top.
Yeah, that's right. It's like the like we were talking about. Yes, so if you go on my Spotify, you'll see that the number one track is Yesterday 2095, which is that very short track from my album Tomorrow 2096. It's a very kind of it's just there in the album. It's kind of a joiner track because it also kind of ties in with the very last track, which is an extended version of that. And you know, it's very unassuming. You know, you wouldn't really think to go. You know, if you were thinking of that album, you wouldn't say, "Oh, I'm going to listen to this track in that album." But for some reason, that one track got picked up by the algorithm, and in particular, it got picked up by the whole kind of liminal space algorithm, that kind of haunting vibes, gloomcore. I'm not sure what they call it. There's a few things on there. And my God, that blew up. It's got like 1.8 million streams, that one track. Yeah. And good gracious, you know, I'm thinking like, how you know, the power of the algorithm is crazy. And obviously that kind of world is a lot more hollow than like actual fans, because it's mostly just people listening in playlists. And, you know, I'm kind of okay with that because that track, even though it's annoying that when people first play my profile, they'll listen to that, which is like far from my strongest. It also means that I'm kind of glad that a track that I spent a long time working on hasn't blown up in that way, where it's just being listened by a lot of kind of hollow fans. And what I mean by that is people who just listen from playlists and don't really...
Passive listeners.
Who don't really look at the artist or care that much about the artist.
There's something like aesthetic as fuck about that though. Like, so, you know, because obviously your work kind of is like broadly within like the ambient music kind of... definition, like falls under that umbrella, and like passive listeners, you know, dating all the way back to sort of Eric Satie, who was like deliberately writing music to be ignored. And you know, there's like a rich history of incredible artists who wrote ignorable music, and there's something like artistically and aesthetically really interesting about like anonymous music, or you know, so you were thinking about John Cage, think about Brian Eno, things like that, just like this kind of what variously was described as like furniture music or wallpaper music. Like even Muzak is something that interests us as vaporwave artists. Yes. There's something really cool. I think it's just got me thinking, you saying like a slightly kind of unfancied or uncelebrated song of yours, like just kind of like picking up just like an insane number of plays. There's something that's like really vaporwave and strange about that, like the ghost of the algorithm sort of being like, doesn't matter what you think is your magnum opus, like this random sort of interlude track, this is the one.
That's the one that's blown up. And
sign of the times.
And funny you mentioned things like music. I love smooth jazz, especially in the 90s scene. And every time I play that to my friends, they're just like, "Oh, this is like elevator music," and I get really annoyed.
That's
in
a compliment in our world.
But in our world, it's like, you know, I kind of don't care, because in a way, like they're kind of saying that this music is kind of relaxing to put on in the background and kind of, I don't know, it's very interesting, but it's cool.
Very cool. I've run out of steam. It was going so well. Future Sounds. We had to take like a little refreshment break because we were sort of being chatty and we got dry mouths. You know?
Yeah, that's right.
I actually think you've got a fantastic broadcast voice.
Really?
Yeah, you speak the BBC English.
You know what? I hear that so much from people. Like, oh, you should be a presenter one day. You know?
Yeah.
Welcome to FutureSounds FM.
Yes, fantastic voiceover artist. Do you know what? If you didn't mind being a scab, you could make a fortune right now with a writers' strike. You know, in the States, just like random British guy. Like you could do all the trailers.
Yes.
You would be a pariah, though. You
could do that. Yeah.
You'd probably need security.
That would be my other job. Yeah, is doing that. Yeah. If anyone needs any voiceovers, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Well, my wife works in advertising. So,
there we go. Yeah, there's lots of avenues to take it. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you got a fantastic speaking voice, and you got a very, on the subject of sample-free music, you got a very nice singing voice as well.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Yes,
because that's
all
like,
right.
It's a really unusual. So I mean, you've been using the phrase pre-slush quite a lot, which I feel like like when you're reading some Shakespeare at school and you got like a little glossary in the margins where they kind of explain what certain words mean.
Yes, I should probably explain what a pre-slush is. Basically, a pre-slush is, so best way to explain it is, when you do sampled work and you take that sample is the pre-slush. So for sample-free
AKA
stuff,
writing a song, yeah.
yeah. So it's basically, for me, a pre-slush is because my process with sample-free is I actually make like a sample like it was a track at full speed, and I don't slow anything down. I make the whole thing and then I export it. So I export it, and so it's just one audio file, exactly the same as if it was a sample from YouTube or whatever.
Yeah. And
then I slow it down from there and add the effects from there. So the pre-slush is like everything full speed, like before I slush it. So a good way to see pre-slushes is if you join the Slushwave social club.
Shout out.
Woo! You can find, there's a forum page in there called Share Your Pre-Slushes. And if you go to that forum page and scroll up, you can see loads of slush artists sharing their pre-slushes, including all of the Desert Memories pre-slushes, if you're curious.
That's really cool. You were telling me over lunch that like there are one or two instances where you've kind of had like bonus tracks, which are the kind of the tracks playing out at kind of regular speed.
Yes.
Right. That's cool. I think that's kind of becoming a bit of a trend. Like I know on the X-Waves album, Peak Internet, that came out on MPF, like he's got two versions of the same track. Like in the main body of the album, it's like a slowed down kind of blissed out version, and then bonus track is full speed, or the other way around. I can't remember, but yeah, that's a really nice way to do it, and it kind of harkens back to the sort of CD era with all your bonus tracks and stuff, and having different versions of a tune, like
having B-sides.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, B-sides suffer not really having much of a moment right now, because on Spotify encourages like one track singles, doesn't it?
That's right. Yes,
that's the kind of format of our times.
But yes, I want to do more of this. So basically, this is a Future Sounds exclusive. I could do the little eye, didn't you? Yeah. Future Sounds exclusive.
Smooth FM.
Yes. Basically, me and actually a work colleague, we made a track, and it's a whole 5-minute track in the style of kind of 2000s Japanese-esque inspired. It's just a very kind of cool poppy electro piece. And I'll actually play it to you after this.
Cool.
Yes, my plan is to slush that. But I really want the original to be heard as well. So I think at some point I'm going to release that as a 12-inch with some label, and the A side will be the slush version, and the B side will be the pre-slush, and potentially a remix from something else they've done. So that's something to look out for in the future. But I'm really that'll be a nice little single. It'll actually be the second. I'm probably wrong about this, but the second single that'll be pressed on wax for me, because the other one I did was the one
on MPF.
It was the one with Indie, which was ages ago now.
On a 7-inch as well,
it
which
was
is
a
really
7-inch,
unusual.
yes.
It's kind of not many 7-inches in our scene, really.
No, there isn't. And yeah, it was a bit of an experiment, but that was so fun. And I was thinking at some point I want to do a 12-inch single, and this is the perfect opportunity. And obviously with a 12-inch, I can make that A side up to 20 minutes. So
I've heard you talk about the Future Sound of London before in like a previous podcast, and they were like a really interesting group for like a bunch of reasons, but not least because they managed to be like quite like a banging rave act, as well as making some like quite iconic ambient music. I'm thinking about stuff like Life Forms.
Yes,
for the ambient stuff.
Dead Cities.
Yeah.
The Future Sound of London, I always tell, the best way to describe it is I say, so imagine the 90s and imagine someone just messing around with every element of a synth. Mm-hmm. And that's what it's like, because you have like these kind of breakbeaty things, these super techno moments, and then also these
bird
really
sounds,
ambient moments. And it's like, my goodness,
jungle
this is like,
rainfall.
Yeah, this is like everything every like alternative 90s scene in one album.
Yeah, they're a
It's
fantastic
very-
group, and
it's
they
great.
with links to the past as well. Because I think Robert Fripp from King Crimson, sort of ambient god himself, he plays a bit of guitar on the Lifeforms record. Some like cool guitar.
Oh,
synth
that's
stuff.
cool.
The
Yes.
reason I bring them up is you're talking about 12-inch singles. Like we've got me and Jay from Donor Lens have got a theory that like your stuff would work really well with like like jungle drums or like dance beats,
Yeah.
along with these kind of textural sounds and stuff. Like I know that your music actually often does have drums in it, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, yes.
It's not like what you would traditionally think of as ambient music, where it's beatless. Like your music is normally metered
Yes.
and has like a percussion element. But like if you were going to go down the 12-inch single route, which is like a format associated with dance music, really, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Or at least now. Having one side being beatless and one side being beats could be pretty cool. You've got a history in dance music, right? I've heard you say that pre Desert Sand, right? You made dance
Pre
music.
Desert Sand, and this was when I was like 17 and younger. So I used to make like deep house a lot and these kind of trance projects, and they were awful. I'm not sharing these anywhere. They were terrible. I mean,
Selfishly, I hope you
with,
start
like-
making that kind of stuff again.
with
I think it
like
would sound
Apple
fantastic.
loops and those kind of things. It was really bad. But it funny enough, that process got me into like understanding logic and understanding production, and then it kind of got me passionate about wanting to do the work I'm doing now is audio engineering and that kind of world.
Yeah.
So in a weird way, making these shitty trance and house beats has kind of led me into this world that I'm now working in.
Yeah.
And of course, the great byproduct of that is Desert Sand. So,
Very cool.
yeah, it's a very interesting progression. How I was making these like totally opposite genres,
Yeah, but there, I mean, it's two sides of the electronic music coin, isn't it? The like music that's incredibly sort of relaxing and transportative, if that's a word, music that's quite functional. Ambient music serves a function, which is to take you to a place or take you away from a place. And dance music is functional as well because it makes you dance.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And actually, I think the so much great electronic music kind of does a bit of both, right? Aphex Twin selected ambient works, ambient masterpiece. Aphex Twin, when he's playing out at clubs, does not play selected ambient works. He plays, I'm going to play freaking loud, fast music on my modular, and there was actually like a viral piece doing the rounds where The Spectator, which is like a kind of right-wing rag in the UK, they'd sent one of their young journos to review Aphex Twin at Field Day Festival, and I think this guy really likes selected ambient works. Ooh, it was your phone.
Oh, it was my phone. Oh,
I thought Aphex Twin was performing. But yeah, this guy was saying that like he went to the Aphex Twin concert expecting like a nice kind of relaxing sound bath, and kind of had like a sensory overload, was bludgeoned with some sort of violent hard style and gather. Shout out Aphex Twin. That's really
Maybe
cool.
I should do
trolling
that.
people like that. yeah.
Just release like the chillest album ever, and then say I'm going to perform live soon,
Mm-hmm.
and then you go and it's just that album, but with like the craziest like breakcore,
Well, we were saying this off air, but like both of us were performing in the States recently, and we were sort of talking about the differences between US audiences and UK audiences, and Americans are like the Americans we've come across are one, like quite Anglophile. They're like so happy that like these British musicians have come over, and two, like they're super enthusiastic. So like they might come along expecting like a nice relaxing Desert Sand set. You play them the donk, the gabba, they might think this is brilliant.
They probably would
Yeah,
actually. They
I
would just
would.
be so hyped to. No, it was lovely in New York. Everyone was so unbelievably nice, and yeah, it was funny. I don't know if you got this vibe from them, but it always felt like when I said, "Oh yeah, I came from the UK," they always sound like the way they say, "Oh, you came from the UK," and like it was the hardest journey we've ever done,
Or come from like somewhere that existed in the past. We've come from the 1970s.
But that weekend was the whole week actually, wasn't it? From although I didn't go to Econ, but I went to obviously the Slushy Fest and then the Tape Swap as well. Both were incredible events.
I think that's kind of rad that you went to the fringe events, but like not the main festival.
Yeah, well, the main reason is because I was actually staying with Days of Blue, who is shout out Days of Blue, who is he's basically my best friend, my closest friend, and we only had these days together, and we thought we could go to Econ, but at the same time, we want to spend time with each other, just kind of exploring New York, because he lives there in New York, and kind of just chilling with each other, and obviously we wanted to rest between the two events, because I think everyone could agree that everyone who went to all 4 events were pretty
a lot of
dead.
people got ill. So we had where we had a clip from Frank Javsey talking about his Econ weekender, which sounded hectic, but he was saying that everybody seemed to get ill following the tape swap, and he managed to avoid it by showing up late, I think.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Am I right? So you were there last year as well, but were you playing the tape swap, or were you playing the actual?
No, last year I was playing at Econ.
Yeah, thought so.
Which
that's nuts.
That was my first ever live event.
Can you, reveal as much or as little as you want to, like of the kind of behind the scenes of that, but like who contacted you and what was the process of getting that booking?
It was literally George who messaged me. I think he literally sent me a message going, fancy doing an ambient set like for 40 minutes? And I said, oh yeah, sure. Like what is this a part of? And he said, just casually, oh yeah, this is Econ 3.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, my goodness me.
That's nuts.
And then we talk, and then I say, I won't be able to come unless obviously the flight is paid for and all that kind of thing. But everything worked out, and they were able to fly me over, which was amazing. And I had
on the 100% Electronica jet. Yeah?
yes, on the first.
That's what I'm imagining on the PJ,
on the first class British Airways.
First class?
No, it wasn't first class.
Oh wow!
It was. I
think that's what people imagine, right? Like when people get very cross on social media about certain things and stuff. I think they imagine the label owners in our sort of tiny little scene, sort of sitting on their piles of gold, like Scrooge McDuck or whatever he's called.
But they're really sitting on their pile of mailers.
Yeah, exactly. A bed of cardboard. Yeah, we were talking about that Christ picture, wasn't he? He's sort of drowning in Dan Mason mailers. Yeah. It's not as glamorous. Behind the curtain, the wizard's curtain,
It's a lot of work, and we were talking about it because you were asking like why I don't do my own physicals, and it's just because it's the time and the money.
Yeah.
And from speaking to other people who've kind of started labels recently, it's hard to get.
It's a labour of love, isn't it?
And the problem is it is, and a lot of it depends on other people, like the distributors or the people who manufacture the vinyls, and so much can go wrong in that process. And it is if you don't have backup, which I certainly wouldn't have, if I was to start this. If you don't have that kind of backup cash, then you won't be able to fill it, because let's say you lose a whole order. Shit happens, but you have to get that road going again. There was actually the whole thing recently with the Angel vinyl on No Problema, wasn't there?
Yeah.
They had that whole problem.
Yeah, I saw it.
And that's one of the things that could happen, And if you're starting out, that could just end it there and then, even before you started,
I'm always surprised by, pleasantly surprised by people's patience, by and large, in this scene, because especially labels that have pre-orders, like My Pet Flamingo don't do pre-orders because for sort of various reasons, but like one of them being that keeping people waiting for sort of months and months on end, having taken their cash is like, it's not best business practice, is it? It's sort of it can lead to complications. But yeah, people by and large are very patient. You do get the odd person who sort of hits order and then they wonder why their record hasn't hit their doorstep 5 minutes later. But
also, if you hit order on a pre-order, you should have the expectation that there may be delays, because obviously you've got to remember they haven't got it in hand. And I say most people are like that. Most people say, oh, sorry, there's been an extra month delay. We're hoping to get that. People go, okay, that's fine. I ordered a pre-order, so. Yeah. And as long as a label you don't guarantee a time, if you say kind of we're hoping to get it out, blah blah blah, then that's okay. I can't remember which label it was, but there was a label a couple of years ago that said we're going to ship it on this day, and they didn't tell anybody about the delays. went on for about 3 months, and then people started asking for refunds through like Bandcamp and
It's
stuff.
the famous floral shop gate as well.
That's right. Yes, so
a big part of this is like people are almost paying for. I know it sounds really silly, but like people are paying for kind of this old format and this kind of old, slower way of doing things, right? Like this is not an Amazon Prime business model, right? This is cottage industry, labor of love, people working on, pre-internet kind of analog mediums. Obviously, there's an irony involved in that our scene is entirely dependent on the internet, but like the part of the kind of magic and the kind of rituals that we buy into is this kind of retro, kind of pre-internet slow way of doing things, and you putting your slow music on this slow format.
Slow ass music.
Future
I
sounds.
was seeing I'm being silly. I've got some silly questions actually.
Oh no.
I'm just so we're talking about drowning in mailers. I'm just imagining like you with drowning in hard drives, man. Like what you must have some serious kind of archival system going on. Lots of albums, lots of long albums.
A 2 terabyte external hard drive. That's it.
You got all your music on one hard drive.
Yeah.
Man, you need to back your shit up. I'm worried. I'm really worried on your behalf.
I back things up on like Google Drive and that kind of thing. So all my albums and all the assets and things are backed up on there. So that's fine. Project, making long songs, there's a lot to it, and obviously the files are massive, but
and you don't get rewarded any more for a long song than you do for a 30-second song on Spotify. Right?
That's quite.
You have to be slightly mad to do it, don't you?
That's funny. So many of the reviews of Dream Desert, you can clearly tell that it's people who have come from like New World Disciples, where the tracks, kind of shortish.
Yeah. This is a 4-hour.
This is a 4-hour record. Yeah. Each track is 20 to 40 minutes.
Those two are my favourites. I know it's sort of basic bitch opinion, but those two are like for the whole package.
The normie Desert Sand. I'm joking. But they are the two most famous ones. And people, you can clearly see in reviews that people have come from these shorter albums and listen to Dream Desert, and they're like, yeah, this is really nice, but God, it's so long. Why 4 hours? And it's just like, that's cool, the point of the album is that it's this journey that slowly evolves throughout the album. But some people just don't want to listen to music for that long.
Do people contact you saying that they like fall asleep listening to these?
All the time. Yeah. The messages I mainly get are people DMing me either saying, I'm great to fall asleep to study to, or surprisingly, I get a lot saying that
Sex playlist?
That would be a very slow session, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Passionate. Sorry.
4 hours in bed. No,
that Sting's tantric playlist, He listens to his own music when he's shagging, man.
What was this thing?
What did people tell you?
Yes, the one I get quite a bit is that some people say, "Oh, your music has helped me through a very hard time, or has cured me of this or that." And I think, wow, that's pretty heartfelt. The fact that they seem to kind of dedicate the recovery process of whatever they've been through. They seem to say that my album is the reason why they've been able to do that, and I think that's cool. Like that's some pretty deep, like emotional, like
all that stuff
level.
makes this all worthwhile, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I received that I see that quite a bit. I have had quite a few messages and quite a few emails.
Do you listen to music when you're sleeping?
No, I can't. I need either. So normally I sleep with a fan on, so it's like a gentle.
That's a white noise machine.
Yeah. It basically, right. Hey,
check out this pun. Does Desert Sand sleep well at night?
Oh.
All my questions just like
I've got to go now. I've got to look at the time.
Yeah, on that note.
But yeah,
That's the thing, right? You say people like dicking around with your name, like trying to sort of use the acronym to say explicit things. You can make little stories from it as well.
I used to do this thing at Halloween and Christmas where I would say, "Oh, give me a name so I can change it for this period."
Oh yeah.
And there's some bitches were terrible. They were so fucking bad.
Yeah.
One of them as well, and Days of Blue is going to like this. So hello, Days of Blue, because I know you're going to be listening to this. He keeps pissing around with this one, which is absolutely awful, and it really annoys me. But it was a Halloween one where it says, "Human blood feels warm when freshly killed."
Ooh. Does it? Couldn't
Days
say
of
from
Blue
experience.
seems to know.
Oh, wow.
Hello, Abe. I know you're listening.
Jeez, I'm scared. And they seem so nice. It's always the nice ones, isn't it?
Oh, it wasn't him who made it. It was somebody else, but he keeps bringing it up every now and then. I'm like, why? It's so bad.
I mean, obviously, if you sort of to draw a bell curve of like how long people's songs are, there's like a massive kind of huge concentration, huge spike around the. We just played footsie.
Sorry,
Oh wow! I was just talking.
It's getting warm in here now.
It is. Tom's studio feels really warm right now. Like whatever, like 99% of recorded popular music, it probably is 3 minutes long, like on the nose, right? Like there's historical reasons for that, like the kind of amount of music you could store on a 7-inch, like blah 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 blah. 3 minutes is like a good length of time.
Yeah.
The number of people making 30-minute long tracks is kind of far fewer, but like there's kind of a cool storied history of people who do make long form music. Yes. I mean, you know, most people's kind of conception of all classical music, you know, rightly or wrongly, is that it's quite long, and like the classical music world is a world that you know intimately well, and it's a world that your day job is in the classical.
That is
music
right.
sphere.
Yes.
Is there? I mean, can you talk like a tiny bit without doxing yourself?
Yeah.
Kind of what your sort of relationship with classical music is, and like what you do for a living.
Yeah. So my relation to classical music kind of started when I started learning piano, and I've been classically trained. I've been playing piano for 14, 15 years now. So since I was about 7 years old, and yeah, I've always kind of enjoyed classical music, and obviously I've played a lot of classical music throughout the years. And this job opportunity came up during my placement year at university, and it's actually where I'm working at now, which is basically where I do for a young musician school, which is like, you know, kind of a secondary school, but for young people who want to be a musician, a classical musician, whether that be composing or performing, you know. And I do all the recordings for the pupils. And that includes, you know, setting up the session, editing videos, that kind of thing. And it's an amazing job because you get to see like these really, really young people come out and play the most difficult, complex pieces to such a high standard. I don't even have to do many edits most of the time. You know, it is a very lucky job to have, and it's one I really enjoy.
It's like a pro-spec concert hall at what's essentially a school.
That's basically it. That's basically it.
But
yes.
a music specialist.
And it's opened me up to loads of like good contacts within the classical scene. So like from big classical labels and things like that. And hopefully one day I can kind of jump on that train and say, you know, hi, you know, I'm looking for somewhere big to go, and then start editing for some like real like CDs and things. Yeah. So.
That's really cool. So, I mean, I think most people, like, if they're not really classical music listeners, they have this idea that classical music is like all kind of long and slow. But I think that's probably based on people's understanding of like they're imagining like orchestral kind of symphonic music. But like within what gets called classical music, there's stuff that's actually probably closer to what you're doing on stuff like these kind of long form ambient things. So I've heard you talk on a previous podcast about John Cage's As Slow as Possible, which is a John Cage piece. It's like a conceptual piece where you can interpret it. Some people have interpreted the instructions very, very literally. So there's a famous performance, right? And you've actually witnessed a part of this performance, right?
Have I?
You said you went to the church.
Did I?
Yeah, was that a lie?
Did I say I went to this church?
You might have said you saw it online.
I think I saw it online. Yes. If I said I went to the church, that is a lie. No, I didn't go.
Bullshitting on air. This is like an organ performance at a church in sort of Germany. Or Austria,
yes. So I've seen it online. Yeah, where you can actually, you can. See, it's this organ piece. I can't. God, it's been a while since I've talked about this. But I can't remember how it's exactly controlled. I think they might do it manually now. But it's going on for about 600 years. 600 years, and every time there's a change, people like get together.
Mm-hmm. It's like once every year or two, right? That something happens. Yeah.
It's very interesting. So yeah. That's that. You talk about long albums. Yeah, that's a 600-year recording. If you're able to do that.
The Eric Satie piece called Vexations. Do you know which one that is? So that's,
maybe if I heard it.
So the music itself isn't particularly famous, but the instructions are. So it's a piano piece called Vexations, and it says in French underneath, it says, if you were to play this piece 840 times in a row, you would need to sort of mentally prepare yourself. Or words to those effect, right? So obviously some people have taken that very literally, that this piece is to be repeated 840 times. And there are sort of marathon kind of overnight performances of this piece where pianists will do shifts. Somebody will do 50 odd repeats, and then somebody else is going to have to sort of tap in like sort of tag team wrestling match, and then hop on the piano. But yeah, for people who think classical music is kind of boring, there's kind of like a sort of litany of kind of maverick composers, like people like John Cage and Eric Satie and Karlheinz Stockhausen and Lamont Young and stuff, who do these kind of insanely like wacky out there things, which are kind of as or more out there than things that we encounter as sort of fans of experimental alternative music. So it's the history of classical music is not kind of one of sort of stuffy, boring.
No, it's not. Honestly, there's so many, there's so many cool things you can go out and find if you really look deep. The problem is you've got to get through all of the quote unquote normie stuff and the famous composers who dominate the like classical scene in terms of streaming and just knowledge. But once you get past this barrier, there's a world of really interesting things there. Yeah. And even to the point of like some of Beethoven's really late piano works, like the Opus 111, just give that a listen and you'll be like, my God, like for the time that was composed, this is at that point he just didn't care. He was like, I'm just going to write this crazy thing. Yeah. And it sounds like it could be, it sounds like a kind of weirdly modern but also weirdly old piece at the same time.
Mozart's late music as well, like all these something when people sort of knew they were dying. They're getting very, very.
That's right. When people, that's right. And a Liszt as well. If you listen to Liszt's really, really, like towards the end of his life, he wrote some really short piano pieces, kind of 1-2 minute, and they're just so dissonant. And this is like late 1800s, and you think, gosh, like again, it was just like, oh, I'm almost dead. Let me just write some weird things because I've written all the good stuff already. That's kind of what it feels like,
Next time we go to New York for our next gig, it seems to be how it works, right? Gig a year.
I love how you say the next time, there definitely will be a next time.
It's this last econ, sure. Well, I mean, even if it is the last econ, I think somebody will kind of fill the void, because I think we've got so used to this kind of annual thing going on in New York. But yeah, there's a place I really wanted to go to this time, but it was closed. But it's a place I've been to in the past, which is the composer Lamont Young has got a permanent art installation with his partner Maria Zazila, and it's called the Dream House, which is like a rad name as well. It sounds like a vaporwave album, right? Dream House,
or vaporwave label, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Dream House.
That's good. Yeah, there's a bunch of things. Or Dream Suite. There's a Slushwave artist, right? And there's a radio show called that as well. But yeah, Dream House is like kind of the last remnant of this kind of 70s 80s New York kind of loft, arty kind of loft culture. And you go up to the loft of this building, and there's a pink room with like fat speakers in each corner, and they're blasting these kind of organ tones. And like as you move about the room or like move your head around, the chord appears to change pitch.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
It's really cool. So you can kind of create your own performance by like manipulating your own body through this space. Is so hippy dippy. I'm actually like a very not particularly hippy dippy guy. I freaking love that place. It's so cool. But
just the interferences, like, because
that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, because obviously. Because I did the course at uni, I learned a little, quite a bit about acoustics and psychoacoustics, and it's a really interesting topic.
Yeah.
And when you learn about how how your ear reacts to sound and everything, it makes you realize that these things can be very easily like manipulated to create this kind of experience.
Yeah, it's almost our bodies creating that music as well, right?
And we can be easily fooled into thinking things are sounds are being created when they're actually not.
That's anytime, even if we're not consciously aware of that, that's what we're doing when we're in the door. Like, we're creating three-dimensional space out of like two speakers, pointed at our face or like strapped to our head, right? It's all kind of illusory, isn't it?
Yes.
That's before you even get into multi-channel stuff or binaural or whatever.
Audio. Yeah.
Yeah, really, really cool. But date at the Dream House.
Let's do it. Yeah,
that's a vaporwave. You know what that sounds like?
Let's do a show there.
Vanitas album title as well.
Yes.
He's got all these modern art kind
Dream
of
House,
dates.
and they've got to release it on Dream Shore.
Yeah, shout out Dream Shore.
Shout out Dream Shore.
Yeah, very cool. Do you listen to much other long form music?
Yeah, from time to time. Yes, actually, recently I've been on a bit of a kind of 80s, 90s kind of more poppy phase. I go through a lot of phases. There was a time, I think it was about last year, where I was listening to a lot of, like, do you know Celer, the ambient artist?
No.
CELER. They release so much stuff, and there's some really cool long stuff there. I always like to dabble in William Basinski.
Yeah.
Who doesn't? So that's the kind of ambient side, and long form things in other genres. That is a good question.
What about things like
a lot of post rock, like Sigur Rós? I love that stuff. And
like droney stuff, doomy stuff. Like,
yes, sometimes. I do like quite melodic and quite changing things. So drone sometimes doesn't appeal to me in that way, but. Yeah, there's so much I listen to. Like, some of it's long, some of it's short. But at the moment, most of it's kind of shorter stuff because I'm kind of going through this like alternative 90s kind of phase.
Cool.
So yeah,
that's really cool. I went to the Sun gig with my wife, and I was like having the best time ever. I looked over, and she was not enjoying it. It's so rad though. Like, I felt like that was a bit like that Cage thing in miniature, because it's like the way their music works is they're just like holding a big old note, and then they'll look at each other and be like, "Here it comes." And then next note, and like anytime something happens, everyone's like, "Yeah." It's very cool. But yeah, it'd be I think I'm with you. I need some variety in my music. I couldn't only listen to that kind of thing. And I think I'm glad that, like, one good thing about sort of kind of streaming culture, there's plenty of bad things about streaming culture, but like it's kind of democratized and leveled people's listening tastes. Like, I think I'm almost exactly a decade older than you, and it was kind of the dying days of like, pick your lane. You're a rock guy, or you're a rap guy, or a pop guy, or whatever. And it's like, I work in schools now, and I ask kids what they're listening to. The bad thing about streaming culture is they can't normally tell me. They're like, "Oh, I don't know, a bit of everything," or whatever. And then like I'll get them to like pull up a playlist on their phone, and it's just like a completely insane mix of things, like meme songs, like things that have kind of been trending on TikTok, which sounds like it would be awful music, but like fantastic music trends on TikTok. I'm thinking like there was a huge resurgence of the Ra bands, like they were kind of resurrected from kind of 80s obscurity.
I love,
they're a wicked group.
And I used to listen to the Ra band like before they blew up, and
before they were cool.
Yeah, but
you're such a hipster.
Yeah. Before they were.
How did you discover them?
Just actually, I do a lot of my kind of obscure discovery through good old Discogs.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's a massive database of obscure things, and I normally just kind of search within a range of years, and I just put in the style, and I just click on albums that intrigue me, and I'm pretty sure I put in like 1982 to 1988 synth pop.
Yeah.
Search, and the Ra band came up.
They're really interesting because they were sort of DIY before people were doing, like they didn't have workstation technology that we do as producers now, but like that guy was kind of more or less making kind of one-man band electronic music using the studio as an instrument, like a long time before that was like in any way a sensible thing.
It was same thing. Did you know the System? Yes. So the System I really, really like, and I was watching an interview with them guys, and they were saying how DIY they were. They were literally just the keyboardist.
It's like electro funky stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And he just had like a little studio, a little workspace. I can't remember exactly the details, but he was just saying that they would just he would make the tunes, and then the singer would come along, do some singing, and then that was the record.
It's kind of how house music was kind of birthed as well. Sort of kind of people making disco on. We don't have a drummer, so we'll use a 909.
Yeah.
We don't have a session bass player to play like the funky disco licks, so we're going to use this weird little 303 or whatever. It's really cool, and like Absolute Magic was kind of made out of those limitations and those kind of tools.
Yes, that's right. And similarly, new age stuff. A lot of that was kind of DIY stuff, because a lot of those producers were just kind of it wasn't really a massive scene, so they kind of had to do it within their own studios. And a really cool story about that is I was once approached by a guy called Clifford White, who you probably don't know, and he's an obscure kind of 80s new age artist, but please, go look him up. His music is so beautiful. But I'd sampled him before.
Oh yeah.
On a project years ago, and then he messages me saying, "Oh, do you want to be a part of the UK Spiritual Arts Foundation?"
Cool.
And I'm like, "What the fuck? This is crazy."
Does he know that you sampled him?
No, he doesn't know yet. I've been kind of afraid to mention it just in case how he'd react. But we emailed each other a few times. And I was really curious about how he made some of his albums that I listened to, and I said, "How did you make this album?" And then he sends me a picture of his bedroom in the late 80s with all these synths everywhere, chimes in the corner, the 8-track recorder. And actually, I'll get the photo up now.
Yeah.
But it was such a cool little email exchange, and I never thought in a million years that an artist who I listened to because of their music in like the 80s would send me a message going, "Do you want to be a part of my
love
foundation?"
Pictures of producers sort of janky little studio setups from the past. I'm thinking about Square Pusher kind of surrounded by sort of like a messy pile of instruments and stuff.
FutureSounds.
Maybe there was some times earlier I could have brought this up, but I'm kind of curious to know what your own kind of relationship with sampling is. It's obviously like a bit of a minefield kind of ethically and stuff, and we've all got complex relationships with it.
Yes.
But like, have you got any kind of particular thoughts on the ethics of sampling? Like, do you have some kind of core principles that you try to follow when you're sampling? Is sampling still a part of your workflow, or are you fully sample free these days?
So so a lot of people think I'm fully sample free now. That is not the case. If you go on the Horwath Collective, you can actually find quite a few of my aliases where I still make sample Slushwave. The only reason I'm holding off doing a sampled Desert Sand main alias release for now is just because the next sampled album I want to make, I really want to be something special. I don't want it to be just another kind of usual one track per slush kind of thing. But to be honest, I think that so long as you're using your passion and your creativity to turn the sample into something that sounds like you, and if you're using it as a platform to be able to convey whatever emotions or tell whatever story you want to do, then I think that's totally fine. Because, especially for beginner Slushwave producers, my goodness me, trying to make your own stuff, especially if you're totally new to everything, is so difficult. And, especially these newer guys, it's not really harming anybody by just taking the sample and kind of transforming it in their own way. It's a great way to learn things. It's a great way to learn, especially in Slushwave, how your chain affects the sample, how it works, what doesn't work, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think if you make it your own, if you turn it into something that is you, not just like a slightly altered version of the original sample, then I think it's totally fine. And that's what I was trying to do. Potentially not with early Desert Sand, because that stuff is kind of just slowed down with reverb. But as I progressed through, I really wanted to kind of shape the sound into a soundscape. And that's what hopefully people will see I've achieved over time.
How sort of kind of tight are your edits? Like, do you kind of, I get the impression you work with fairly long pieces of audio, or are you kind of moving to like a more sort of micro kind of sampling?
It depends. This is going to shock people, but the opening bit of Dream, the first track of Dream Desert, are you familiar with that one? And you know how the opening has these like chiming bells that come in very, very, very slowly, and then the track starts with the beat. So that bit with the chiming bells, that is that goes on for what, 10 minutes or so, I think. That's all made up of a 3-second sample looped. 3 seconds, looped over and over and over and over again, with very, very delicately changing and very very carefully controlled parameters there, and like
that's quite an old school sampling technique, isn't it? Like grabbing a tiny chunk of a record and then using that as an instrument, I guess.
That's it. That's basically it.
Kind of micro sample
and
thing.
whereas some of the other tracks on Dream Desert, for example, I sample a lot larger chunks. Really depends on the track.
You said something that kind of got me thinking, which was that like if you're working with samples, make it yours, make it sound like you. There's something strange that happens with voices when you pitch them sort of down a certain point where they kind of, it all sounds like the same singer. It all becomes the same person. And I think you're one of the reasons, maybe that doesn't happen automatically, but like with your sample free stuff, like you become that singer, right? Like
yes,
it's kind of a neat little sort of tie-in for your whole discography, that like even the stuff you're singing on your sample free stuff, like it sounds, you know, there's some weird democratization process that happens where like you've got the same voice all of a sudden as like a female Chinese singer from the 80s. You know, something very strange and uncanny happens with slowed down audio, isn't it?
There was a pre-slush on my latest album, To Shed Silent Tears, where I purposefully sang in the style of like a kind of cutesy Japanese. You know, like I would sing like...
Release the original audio. on OnlyFans.
Like I say, if you go on the Slushwave Social Club, on that Share Your Pre-Slushes forum post, it is there, but I basically...
That is brave of you.
But I basically sing kind of like...
Breathy.
Like that kind of thing.
Wow.
And I kind of speak like this, you know?
That's extraordinary. The things we do for our art.
And most of the time,
if we were filming this would be the bit you clip for the TikTok posts and stuff.
That would
demented
be the YouTube
podcast.
Show, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. I think you start singing in every podcast I've heard you do before.
Have I?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. No, there was someone in the server who. In one of the Desert Memories tracks, I say like Anata, like really strongly, and someone said in the server that they just have the sudden urge to say that around family sometimes, and I find that
That's cool.
quite hilarious.
Somebody was asking, I didn't write down their name, but they'll know who it is. Like, you like is there a place where people can find the lyrics to your tunes, or is it just a case of contacting you and you it's up to you whether you
just contact me. There's no one single place where you can get things. They're all over the place. I've told people in servers, I've told people in Twitter replies.
You seem quite happy to share.
Just DM
info.
me. Most of the time it's Slushanese, so it doesn't actually really mean anything. It's more of a textural quality, you know.
Interesting. And you mentioned Sigur Rós earlier.
Exactly.
So fake language is
or
like a
Cocteau
part of the process.
Twins.
Yeah, Cocteau Twins for sure. Yeah.
It's the same. It's
That's
the same
rad.
thing. Yeah. So like, you know, most of the time it's kind of like a pseudo Japanese type thing. And actually sometimes for singing I kind of bring up the like hiragana chart with all the pronunciations and just kind of wherever my eye looks I say it. So I've probably said some really rude things in Japanese without knowing it.
Nonsensical things.
Yeah,
as
some
well.
Japanese listeners are going, why did he just swear like that? You know, no, I don't think so. I think it'd be very coincidental if I actually said a phrase just
That's
from
cool.
saying the random.
But that's kind
of
also the transients all kind of smear around with the pitching and the phasing and stuff as well. Like it's sort of it's just kind of vowel sounds, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah,
it's textural.
It's very textural. Yeah. And the ones with English lyrics, they're less. You know, when I write lyrics, you know, they're more pronounced and prominent in the Slush version, but even then, like, you know, it is still a textural layer. So yeah, the lyrics, I would say for my pre-slushes aren't like one of the biggest things, because vocals for me are just a tool to kind of bring out melodies and
they sit
and
quite
textures.
low in your mixes, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, that's right.
FutureSounds.
All right, back from another hydration break.
Yes,
Let's hit up some listener questions.
Woo!
So, who gets to go first?
Well, yes. Obviously, I've got to shout out the Slushwave Social Club. Woo!
I was drinking, otherwise I would have woo-wooed as well. Yeah,
woo!
yeah.
Or maybe just you just don't care. Like
Spit water out. It's my mic. No,
yeah,
big
so-
up. I'm one of the most recent members.
Yes, yeah, go.
It's great fun in there. It seems like a really nice
I
community.
do want to say discord.gg/slushwave, but I believe that link doesn't work anymore because we're 2 boosts short of the level 3 server boosting, so our custom link has gone.
Is that a real thing? That
I think
sounds
so.
like sort of made up tech talk in a movie. You know?
So yeah, if you want to boost us, please do. Anyway, Cole asks, "What's the story behind my profile picture, and what made me decide to use it to represent myself online?" And quite like the name, this doesn't really have a very interesting backstory. It's just that I was kind of looking for an interesting way to because I don't want to put my face as a profile picture or anything like that, and I just thought, okay, let's find a kind of a statue or something that hasn't been regularly used. And I came across this one. I don't really know much about it. I've tried to do some research into it, into where like if it's in a museum or who it's of, but I can't really find much about it. I believe it's a Venus. Please don't quote me on that. It probably isn't. But yeah, I just chose it because it looked cool. And no one else used it as well, so it has kind of been related to me. VX asks, what led you to do music, and what made you create Desert Sound for Warm at Night? Well, I think we kind of touched on that earlier, really. That the what led me to create music was, you know, my journey through learning piano, and also Desert Sound for Warm at Night was just a product of me messing around with my friend Thom on the Hallworth Collective, really.
What I've got a similar question that could lead somewhere nice. So somebody on Twitter called Gon asks kind of what else inspires you. I mean, other than, because I've heard you talk a lot about how discovering Telepath was sort of kind of a huge sort of starting point to this journey. Like, can you talk about some other kind of strong musical inspirations to this project besides Telepath?
Yeah, I would have to say C-pop is probably the other biggest inspiration. A lot of like late 80s, early 90s C-pop. Because I love that stuff. I listen to way too much of it.
What level's your kind of language understanding? Because it's not zero, right? Like I know you did.
Yes, so I do speak a very rudimentary Chinese because I did it for my GCSEs, if you know what that is.
C-pop tended to be in Mandarin or Cantonese?
Well, it's both, you see, because obviously a lot of C-pop that you can listen to on Spotify is originated either in Taiwan or Hong Kong. Yeah. So if it's in Taiwan, it would be in Taiwanese, or if it was in Hong Kong, it would be Cantonese. Yeah. But a lot of what a lot of C-pop artists did at that time is they would release 2 albums. One album would be in Cantonese and the other one would be in Mandarin. That's rad. So the Mandarin ones, I try and listen to, you know, just to see if I can understand it. I love for a bit of fun.
Shakira does that, right? English and Spanish language.
Oh
versions. Yeah. That's really cool. Kraftwerk.
So
Kraftwerk used to do all kind of European language versions.
That's right. Yes. So there we go. So it's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that stuff just inspired so much of like the instrumentation for like my pre-slushes and everything like that. So and a lot of the styles that I've kind of used in my pre-slushes has come from just listening to C-pop and kind of picking up the trends and that kind of thing. So I would say that's another big inspiration.
Do you keep up with sort of contemporary like Asian pop music?
No, because it just doesn't sound the same. It just sounds there's a certain quality to early 90s kind of C-pop which is so unique. It's almost like New Jack Swing, how that was a thing for like 5 years and then it died out.
Brief window in time.
It's the same thing with C-pop. There was this really kind of unique sound for that period, and then just died off. And I love that sound. It's kind of lots of MIDI, lots of 808, lots of kind of synthy lines, and it's great. I love like that kind of MIDI stuff. Really cool.
Yeah, you're not the only person in
Yeah.
this world who's into that kind of thing. It's sort of reclaiming kind of fun, like pretty outre, pretty sort of
Yeah.
questionable sounds sometimes.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
yeah, the joy of the preset. Yeah, fall through my drum kit.
Sorry, here we
Rock
go.
and
I'm
roll.
destroying the studio.
Oh man,
the chair.
we talk about this on the podcast the whole time, but yeah. Anyway, at Groove Horizons, Enzo from MPF, like kind of inadvertently stage dived through the merch table. But yeah, not intentionally. Kind of just fell through like Del Boy in Only Fools and Horses. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, you just stage dive through my drums
Yeah,
like
sorry.
Kurt Cobain at Reading Festival. You
Yeah,
know?
that's it. No, the chair just went down on me a little bit, so I kind of scooched back to bring it up. But yeah, I destroyed the studio.
Josh from Iverson did that as well.
Okay, what else do we have on the Discord? Celadon Dream Suite, who I met in New York, shout out, asks, what do your parents/family think of Desert Sound Project, and do they listen to your music? Yes, so my parents didn't know for a very, very long time because I was anxious to tell them, because I didn't know how they'd respond, if they just think it was weird or if they think, it was this thing, what are you doing? Because it is such a different like music genre to what they've grown up with and known, but they were so sweet. They're like my biggest fans now.
That's cool.
I showed you that picture of my dad in the Dream Desert hoodie. So yeah, and I think they listen to a lot of my stuff. I know my dad loves Tomorrow 2096 and New World Disciples. I think my mum loves the Alone album, which was the one that was on Aloe City.
She was into the KLF and things like that.
Yes, my mum's into the KLF and Scooter. So if you know what that is, I think she went clubbing in the 90s, and then that's the music that stayed with her.
The White Room era KLF stuff is really like quite close to what you do now. I think I meant chill out era, not White Room.
That's right. Yeah, it's just like if you remove the kind of hardcore element of it, all these like ambient pianos and things. Yeah, it's kind of right there. If you slow that down, you probably get a good kind of upbeat slush album.
Well, funnily enough, that's kind of more or less what Barber Beats is, isn't it? It's like that era of electronic music, slowed, reverbed, edited.
Yeah, I feel like Barber Beats, it just like I was talking earlier about the transformative quality of the samples. Some Barber Beats producers just like make it sound exactly like it was.
They've got more of a punk attitude.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think we're not the biggest punks out there, are they?
And it's like, it is a shame when that kind of thing blows up off the charts, whereas there are some really, really talented people who spend a lot of time on projects and they don't get that kind of.
It's got a very cool like visual aesthetic, and like
I know,
we've benefited. Our projects have benefited from the strength of kind of visual aesthetics and kind of world building and stuff. So it's like definitely not to be dismissed out of hand. Like packaging and presentation is super important. You probably should shout out some of the visual artists that you've kind of worked with. We'll be bigging them up off air, but they probably weren't listening when we were just like making coffee in my kitchen.
Very nice kitchen as well, I should add. Thank you. Big up Zero, obviously, longtime friend and longtime visual collaborator with myself. You'll know him from New World Disciples, Dream Waterfall, and Messenger of Death. I've also got a shout out Hydra, who did the latest album, To Shed Silent Tears. Who else has done artwork for me? Extra has done artwork for me, the Piano Soliloquy. Lunitas did the I Think Therefore I Am album.
Very distinctive.
Yes. Oh, and of course Zero did the Desert Memories. How can I forget? I'm gonna bring up my bang hand because I really don't want to forget anybody here. Because
the early stuff is presumably you, right? When like more kind of screen cappy.
Yeah, it's just screen cappy.
And when it comes to putting things up on streaming, that's the kind of stuff that can be quite problematic, isn't it? It can get rejected out of hand for kind of blurry photo quality and stuff.
That's right.
You have to fight a bit of a battle to.
Yes. Also, shout out to the other Zero, so the Zero Z.E.R.O, that Zero who did the Drifting in the Sea of Clouds cover. That's very confusing, isn't it? How there's two Zeros who both make vaporwave and do renders.
Yeah.
And
one of them's South American, right?
I believe so. Yes, I think so. Right, yeah, I think that's everybody. If I have forgotten, please forgive me. But
Cool.
yes, I think that's everybody who I need to shout out
I've
in
got
terms of visual artists. But that is the Discord
wicked.
questions done.
Fantastic.
Discord.gg/slushwave, maybe. If not,
Yeah, I got it. I got in there through Linktree. There was a hyperlink on the Slushwave social Twitter page.
yes, search up Slushwave Social Club on Twitter.
Yeah.
That's the best way to get to it.
Yeah, that was how I
actually,
got in there because there is a dead link, which is very vaporwave. You know?
Yes. That's right.
Yeah.
We need 2 more boosts, so please come in the server. You know,
Cool.
I'm in
We'll
there quite
get
a bit. Everyone's in there.
Fantastic.
All your favorite Slushwave artists are in there.
Yeah, bring your mums.
Bring your nan. Bring
Yeah.
everybody.
Emily asked on Twitter, what other media inspires you? And that I wanted to sort of tag on to that. Like, what are you nostalgic for? Like, what from your childhood do you sort of reminisce about? So yeah, media first.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I grew up mostly in the digital age of this kind of thing. Yeah, it's weird because I don't really know how to answer that because all my kind of listening, particularly, has just been through like digital stuff, MP3 players.
Your iPod native.
When I got my
right?
when I got my first iPod Touch way back in the day, that was cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because most vaporwavers lived through the kind of transition era where it was kind of this wild west of file sharing. It was quite anarchic and sort of pre-iPod MP3 players and that kind of thing.
Yes.
And the mini disc, which was the sort of transitional kind of moment from physical to pure digital.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess, maybe the best way you could answer this media question is like telling us like what your kind of console of what console did you grow up with if you had a console?
Yes, so the first console I got was, my dad got an Xbox 360. That was his first one.
That's brand new. That came out like 4 years ago,
I
right?
know. Everyone's going to be like, oh my goodness. So I got that when I was about, 6, 7, something like that. And then I got a Wii.
Yeah.
And that was the big one with me growing up. I used to play so much Mario Kart, so much... what else did I play on there? Wii Sports, obviously, and then Wii Sports Resort. I used to play Wii Music a lot. Maybe that's what I've attributed to my success is that I played Wii Music when I was 8. So,
I guess we were saying earlier that like age kind of flattens out and like the difference between mid 20s and early 30s is no longer significant, but like it's a chasm when you're comparing childhoods and stuff. And I have like almost no experience. I think I've probably held a Wii controller like once or twice in my life because like I think it came out when I was a sixth former.
Yes.
I wasn't playing games. I was like shedding jazz drums, and I was on Ableton Live version 4. It's now version 11. I've got project files dating back to like 2006.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
We were talking about that earlier, like access to really, really old media and how that's actually like potentially like a wicked tool to explore in our current day art, especially given that we're working in a music scene that kind of has an interest in nostalgia and memory and kind of corrupted memory.
No, it's good. It's a very interesting question.
Very cool. So you're not particularly a gamer now?
No, I'm not.
See,
really,
this is the answer, kids. If you want to be a prolific producer, you're gonna have to put down
your controller. Yeah. Do your homework.
Yeah.
No, I watch a lot of movies actually.
Cool.
I'm quite big into movies.
Do you sample movie dialogue?
No,
soundtracks
I haven't
and
yet.
stuff?
No.
Okay.
Funnily enough, if I need dialogue for a project, I cannot be asked to search something. I just record it myself in a funny accent.
Yeah, that's really cool. Do you know Pizza Hotline does that?
Oh yeah.
on his like so he made like a bunch of vaporwave albums, kind of released on similar labels to you actually. So like making his kind of video gamey drum and bass stuff, he released on like Seiko Mart and stuff like that.
Oh, cool! Yes.
And there's a record of his where him and his partner are like doing like funny skits and stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's good. So yeah, there's one track in Tomorrow 2096 where there's a very in Floor 122 where there's a very So in floor 122, there's a track where there's a very kind of emotional conversation at the beginning between what sounds like a guy and a girl, right? It's just me
That's really
talking
cool.
to myself.
No, I think that's cool. I mean, like there's parts of our music scene is sort of people are making very cinematic kind of soundtracks to imaginary movie type music, like the whole like Pure Life records. Their aesthetic is entirely concerned with that, you know,
Yes.
soundtrack based, and I think it's really cool, like doing your own dialogue. The start Data Girl put out an EP where the first track is like a kind of, it's like very detailed sound design and kind of dialogue-y and stuff, and I think it's dialogue that was kind of originally recorded. So that's the kind of next stage, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
not just singing your own music, it's sort of doing your own dialogue.
That's right. That's exactly it.
Very
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, it's
The
a
next,
nice
yeah,
little trend.
the steps to success in Slushwave.
Right, I'm just going to ask 2 more questions and then we should knock it on the head, because this is long. I'll edit it down a little bit. But, so Alex from the Vaporwave News Network, who's also Alex from Pacific Plaza Records and makes music as Trucks Passing Trucks, so shout out Alex. I think he's interested in your live performance, like what exactly you're doing with your guitar up there. Like, are you using the internal sounds? Are you using it as a MIDI controller? Are you processing it with pedals? Blah 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 blah.
Yeah. So I'll take you basically the whole process. It's all done through the guitar. The laptop is up there because it has my Slush FX chain in Logic. Mm-hmm. So what's happening is that I choose a track that I want to perform. I find the original project files for it.
Yeah.
I find the pre-slush. I remove certain elements from that pre-slush. So maybe my vocal line or a synth line.
Yeah.
I re-export it. Then I slow it down and add like the delay and stuff. But I don't add any of the FX chain. So basically, I import it into my guitar because my guitar has a built-in. It's a Roland AX Edge, and it has a built-in not MP3, but audio player that can put you can put WAVs on. And so as I'm performing, I can press play on the guitar.
Oh, that's rad.
It plays the track and it goes through the slush chain, and then from my laptop there's the interface which then goes out to the speakers. But obviously, the guitar is a synth. It's not just a MIDI controller. It's a synth that has about 600 sounds. And so what I would do is then I would also play the sounds from the guitar over the track. And of course, it all goes through the slush chain. So everything that I play is slushed. My vocal mic is plugged into the interface, which goes into the laptop. So that's slushed as well. So basically, what I load into the guitar is the dry, slowed down sample with some elements removed, and then obviously what you hear is everything slushed, even with what I'm playing, that'll slush.
That's mad. So the music's not coming from the laptop.
No, it is not coming from the laptop. It's coming from
That's such
the
a
guitar.
mad way of doing it.
I know. It's so crazy. I was thinking, like, how can I do this? And it works. It works so well, and I'm able to like just change tracks on the guitar whenever I want to. I don't have to put it down. Don't have to go to the laptop.
In theory, you could
there.
perform with no laptop at all and just like some phaser pedals and
I
stuff.
could, yes, I could do that, and I might do that in the future because obviously, you know, my laptop's been absolutely great. It's never been a problem.
It's terrifying,
but it
performing
is
with a
slightly
laptop.
terrifying. Or if I get like a notification halfway through, and they're like doodle-oot.
Yeah, but it's all right in Vaporwave, isn't it? People think it's part of the performance. Some Skype alert sounds.
It reminds me of for people who watch Slushwave 2023 during Sora's set. Vapor Memory got his friend to plug in their phone to his computer, and it made all the USB sounds during Sora's set.
Yeah, those are cool sounds. I've sampled those sounds.
So it's
I've sampled that exact sound. The Windows USB Connect sound is so cool.
But so far my laptop's been very well behaved and everything's worked. So I guess until that kind of starts being unreliable, which it hasn't been yet, then I will probably. It's a bit of an investment.
Stock plugs, or you got third party stuff in that chain?
Yeah, I've got most of the third party stuff. Yeah.
No more info than that.
No.
That is a very patented process.
It is very. I've been very secretive about the plugins I use because there is the potential that you could just kind of copy me if I told you what was there. I mean, obviously I create a lot of the kind of sounds within them myself, but still I don't really go beyond the kind of surface level of most of these plugins. Like I'm not changing things that.
Valhalla?
No, I don't use Valhalla. I can safely say that I do not use Valhalla.
There you go.
But I think
cool.
people know I use FabFilter, so. But
You're running that stuff live?
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's rad.
and it works.
When are you a flangey boy or a phasey boy?
Phasey boy, definitely, but not even. I'm more of a reverb boy. Nice. I would say.
Cool.
The phaser in most of my tracks is very low most of the time.
Yeah, it can get a bit seasick, can't it?
Yeah,
it's like with older vaporwave stuff, like people go absolutely nuts on the sort of tape wobble stuff, and you listen to an actual cassette, and unless your player's really fucked up, like it's doesn't.
Well, it's like the lo-fi scene, like. Mm-hmm. Some lo-fi is really good, but some of it just, you hear it and it's like,
sometimes like a super slow vibrato as well, really wide, really slow, where it's oscillating a semitone either way.
Jeez. And I'm just like
churning.
No, lo-fi is supposed to be like relaxing. This is actually quite agitating.
Let's finish on a funny one. So Fire Prayer, not Fire Tools, shout out Angel, but Fire Prayer. Who is also an artist, asks, are you a Beyonce fan?
I would say a fan. I'm gonna have to say no, just because I've never really thought about it. I mean, I like some of her songs, like Single Ladies and the oh my God, what's the one called with Jay-Z? I think it's gone my mind.
Crazy Enough.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I love those kind of big hits, but beyond that, I don't even know really much about.
You didn't. You wouldn't have grown up with Destiny's Child and stuff.
No, that's right. Yes, that was beyond.
But that whole kind of like Y2K pop aesthetic is having a big moment again with a sort of hyper pop thing.
Yeah, that's right. I have a lot of nostalgia for like 2011 kind of mainstream UK. Like LMFAO and
I've heard you talk about
and
that.
The Lady Gaga kind of thing, and I love that kind of mainstream period, even though it's like kind of slightly cheesy, like house stuff. I love it. It's great.
I've got a project. I keep on pointing at things in my room and forgetting that you've got quite bad eyesight. This thing, the Witch to LimeWire, this thing that says upload to me.
Oh, I can read that. Yes, I can read that. Yeah.
That's like, because obviously most vaporwave is concerned with the 80s or whatever, and I'm quite into sort of vaporwaving the 2010s.
Yes, no, it's so good.
Yeah,
that's
good. A fun aesthetic to play with, because it was quite an ugly aesthetic, and that era is having a bit of a reckoning. So this Russell Brand documentary that aired last night, like that kind of era is sort of people's behaviors, kind of people are being called accountable for their behavior during that era, because it was a pretty sort of naff ugly era. But you were just a kid, you're excused from it.
I was shielded from anything nasty. Like I never really experienced it.
Yes, but you were looking at it through a childhood. Innocent childhood lens, and sort of this kind of sheeny Lady Gaga pop LMFAO. That's quite wholesome. Yeah, Russell Brand stuff.
Wholesome,
That's rad. Let's wrap that up. But thank you so much for your time.
No, it's been a pleasure. I've loved. It's great to do an interview in person.
Yeah.
And it's been it's so cool to be in the studio.
I'm excited for our performance. It's only a couple of weeks now until the Lunar Lounge show, and so excited to see you again, see Zero again, meet Vanitas for the first time.
Yes.
I'm going to let you in on an exclusive, but Vanitas is cooking up some artwork for the upcoming Donor Lens album. So you'll probably see and hear that very, very soon. Yeah, thank you for sticking with us till the bitter end.
Yes, through our shenanigans.
Yeah, Shenanigan Central. Right, peace out. Woo!